What's up, folks? Des here. I got a full song loaded up in the Deluge. This is something I made probably a couple months ago. Something I really liked. I've went and edited it, tweaked it a little bit. I have added some compression since the community firmware came out. Almost anything old that I show you guys, I go through and I make a couple tweaks, and then I add a little compression to almost everything. So yeah, this is something I really liked when I made it, and I still like it today. So we'll get into it. I use quite a few samples, and obviously with the new firmware, the lazy chops make it really easy to get through stuff. But the way I like to sample is maybe even a little more simple than that. We'll see. I'll jump into the first sound you're going to hear, at least one of them. It's going to be this right here. Boom. Have this looped up. Yeah, so that'll be looping through the track. If you're curious what the original sample sounds like. It goes a little deeper, but the part that I used right there at the beginning, you can see this, how I chopped it, just took that first little loop, or first section, and looped it up right there. Boom. Next up, to add a little bit of rhythm, I got this guitar thing that I chopped up. And then I think, yeah, this last section is the one with the most variation, extends a little longer. Yeah, so I like that kind of looping through. These chops are from, sorry if that's coming in hot for anybody. Little guitar phrase. Where'd I get this from? Essence Leaks Producer Grind. So yeah, I think it's a producer grind sample pack. Basically, I just search the web, look for any free sample packs I can get, and play with stuff in there. So that's what this is. And to show you what I chopped, it looks like here I just left the whole sample in there, switched to cut mode right here. I have that other one in stretch mode. I guess I could have went over that. I usually end up using stretch mode in a lot of my stuff. Oh no, this is in cut too, yeah. So yeah, with both of these samples, what I'm doing is I'm leaving them in, what is it called, cut mode, and basically just finding the tempo. I think this one tells me the tempo, so I could just start with that. I'll browse. Let's see. That'll tell me the tempo right here. 140 BPM. I'm at 107, so just changing the tempo around a little bit, using it the way I think it sounds best. That's honestly not the way I do it most times. I'm surprising myself going back and looking at that. But yeah, I like the way I chop those samples up. Next we got, this is a little bit of a synth part that comes in later into the track. I'll play these all together. And that comes in a little bit later just to add some variation. If you're asking me about chord structure or anything like that, I don't know what I'm doing. I just, a lot of times I just play with the sequencer until I find a chord progression that sounds nice for me. This sounded nice. So yeah, we stuck with that. Next up, I love this part. It's a little percussion part, or at least I turned it into percussion. The original sample sounds like this. I did was I'm pretty sure I just looped this. No, I just left the whole thing in there. I think I did turn this to stretch mode. Yep, turned it to stretch. I probably extended it further than it naturally goes. Yeah, so basically using this full progression, what I've done though is apparently put a ton of reverb on it. I've got low pass filter, A lot of high pass filter on this one, cutting out a lot of the low end, a lot of the drums, and then both EQs all the way down. Yeah, let's see. Looks like the volume at 34 sounds a lot different than it did originally, but I just like that percussive sound that could add a really nice layer to hear in the background of the track. And then it's something that already has its own swing, which I really appreciate. Next up, we got some drums. Pretty simple with these. And it looks like I have adjusted stuff, so it's just slightly off. So this is 4, 3. I zoom in. Yeah, you can see. So the white parts right here, the white notes, whatever you want to call them, white sounds, those are essentially moved slightly off the grid, trying to give it a little bit more of a off time feel, kind of like the whole Dilla swing a little bit. And I don't use any actual swing in here. I guess I'm blocking that. But yeah, I'm not using any actual swing on the song. All of these drums are kind of just moved around myself. I just usually hold them down, press and turn the knob a little bit so I can put them where I want them. And usually I only go like 2 or 3 off just to still keep that keep a nice sound without it sounding too offbeat. Next up, some more drums. These are just hi-hats actually. And then something cool that I do with hi-hats, I think some people might appreciate this, is to give them a little bit more variation. All of these hi-hats I have moved slightly off by a couple. Looks like that one's on. Oh yeah, we need to go even deeper because there's more hi-hats than I thought. This one's -2, +2, -2, +3, -1, +2. So like I said, just keeping them kind of in that ballpark of only moving them 3 spaces or so, but also adds a ton of variation to the track. Like I said, gives it that nice time feel. Another way I add variation to the percussion here, these hi-hats, is I go in and I connect the master to either the LFO or to the random here. So it looks like these I have connected to this random. So at this value 18, essentially what that's doing is the higher you go with this number, the more that you attach it to this random setting. So the master volume is going to be bouncing around a little bit depending on how much you tie it to this random effect here. Random, I don't know what you would call that. Yeah. And I think I also do have it connected to panning too. Or no, actually I have the panning connected to the LFO here. If we go into that, boom, looks like it's -17. And then I'll also show you the shape of that LFO is a triangle. So if you work with LFOs before, essentially the LFO is going to tie whatever you tie to it to a shape. So this one's a triangle here, and if I were to click this right here, my LFO is at 30. This is the rate of the LFO. If I were to turn this up more, it would tighten that space between those triangles. If I was to turn it down, it would extend the length between those triangles. I hope that makes sense for people listening. It took me a long time to understand what any of this meant, but yeah, LFOs and this random here I use a lot for putting variations on my hi-hats and drums in my songs. We'll go back and come out. This one is basically the same thing. I've done a lot of the same elements to this other hi-hat here. Like I said, we'll check the master tied to random and the panning tied to the LFO. I guess to just hear those by themselves. Yeah, just adds a good bit of motion to the track. I really like it that way, as opposed to precisely on the grid. Not as fun for me. I like the idea of it almost feeling a little bit more live. Obviously, when I have this other kind of percussion loop playing, it adds a ton of variation. So. Yeah, I really like how that sounds. So. Next up, we got, this is basically my bass right here, these 3 elements. I've got this right here. looks like this is taking up most of my low end for my bass. If we browse, check this out. Looks like it's actually a kick, and I'm guessing free black box edition. Yeah, so this is from an Illmind producer kit I got. And if you check out Illmind's, I think Instagram, or yeah, I want to say it's his Instagram, he constantly has links and different things where you have the ability to get free sample packs, and usually they're small, just some smaller packs, but you can find some cool stuff in there, like this kick, for instance, that I'm using as a bass. Apparently, like I said, haven't I made this track a while ago, so oftentimes when I'm deep diving and seeing what I did prior, I'm sometimes confused, sometimes interested. Yeah, it's nice to see how you progress and work away or work into things, and I think this definitely helps me do that when I'm able to make these videos. Next up, let's see what we got. Oh yeah, that's a nice bass right there. I think this is from this is from that Monte Booker sample pack I was talking about. And last but not least, this is, I think, coming in like higher over my bass. I think I have a high pass filter on this. Yeah, just to kind of round it out, give it some more like high end, I guess. Like I said, I made this a while ago. That's not necessarily how I would do things these days, but I do like the sound of this track. So with all of these elements stacked on top of each other, yeah, it gives you a nice little thump right there. I appreciate it, at least. Next up, I think this is the last thing I have here, and this is just a sample from that Curtis King sample pack. It ain't a game! Yeah, and then obviously I pitched that down, and I only use it once, I think, throughout the track. Added some reverb, and I thought I had delay, but I think that's naturally in the sample there. Yeah. So with all of those put together, I'm no master arranger, but at the same time, I do like the way I put together this track. Nothing too crazy, keep it pretty simple. Yeah, hope you guys enjoy it. Let's jump right in. Hope you guys enjoyed the track. I do plan to make a ton more of these kind of videos. I got a bunch of stuff here in the Deluge just sitting. So I'm going to be putting more stuff out and just kind of diving through, letting you know how I did certain things. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. I do want to do kind of a walkthrough over how I do the hi-hats and drums on a lot of my songs, so I feel like you can do a whole lot as far as creating variation with tying things to LFOs, tying things to random, playing with the rate of the LFO. You could do a whole lot, especially as far as even just creating samples. So yeah, maybe I'll do a little bit more of a deep dive as far as that goes. If that's something you want to see, just let me know down in the comments. Yeah, I've been Dez. Hope you guys have a good one. See you soon.